Well, man, it would appear that all avenues to the playoffs are now closed for the Dallas Cowboys, and you can come join the tanking for the draft bandwagon that I've been on for some time now. It was not the most fun game to watch. You had a really good first half,
Yeah.
but then it's just kind of came apart in the second half. It felt like, but yeah, let's get into this one, I guess, and then talk about what there is to talk about. So,
Yeah.
yep, good times. Well, not really, but it'll be good when it's
Yeah, when
this
it's
is
all
where the
said and
game.
done. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. When it's done. This is We Are the Game. I'm looking at Michael, and we're gonna semi briefly go over the Dallas Cowboys against the LA Chargers. The LA Chargers on their way most likely to the playoffs. I can't remember suddenly if they've clinched, but they're probably going to the playoffs at this rate. And good luck to them, I suppose. Um, as I said, it seemed like first half y'all went kind of toe to toe with them. Your offense was able to give out as much as your defense was allowing, and your defense has
Yeah.
not quite recovered. You had those two or three really pretty solid weeks, and then you kind of regressed. Or I don't know if the rest of the league just adjusted. You've talked about the whole six lineman thing, probably worth getting
Mhm.
into again if you felt like you saw a lot of that. So, what really happened in this one?
Well, one of the things that I'll credit the Chargers off the bat with is, man, how physical their defense has played all season. Well, in particular these last few games, I think that's been a huge contributor to their success. They're very physical. Um, with that being said, the smart thing all of a sudden against Dallas has been this shift. I think that was pioneered by the Vikings to just, to just play. An extra offensive lineman. I guess it was the Lions who did it to us first. That's right, because it was uh, Dan Skipper. So all of a sudden, everyone's playing a sixth lineman basically, and they're just playing him almost the entire game, and that's been extremely effective against our defense. Other than that, our defense was really impressive. It's just re-exposed all of the secondary problems that we have. So another game where in the first half it was like, man, our defense has not figured it out. I think we gave up 21 points in the first half, and it's like, okay, well, we're gonna need to get something figured out at half. And we had some traction on offense, and we did figure things out at half. We figured out how to not play offense or defense. So that was kind of cool. The third quarter, our defense did look better. We had some stops and all of that. Um, but from an offensive standpoint, in the first half, it was nice. Second half, it was. It's always interesting to see Joe Milton, the third end. He is a good athlete. He had an ugly fumble, but um, it was it's difficult. I don't even know. I don't know what the answer is to the sixth heavy lineman in there. And I know that we're not uniquely. We were talking about that a little bit earlier. I know that we're not uniquely the only team that has that teams are using that strategy against. But I'm not exactly sure how we would resolve that kind of going forward. Have you seen it used against other teams? And do you think that I'm that I'm not just blaming this one strategy for broader gaps in the Dallas defense?
Well, it could be both. And I've seen other teams do things like this, and I'm sure they have really for years, but it's just the current iteration of it. There are some teams that will go flat out and just go like, yeah, here's a sixth actual offensive lineman. And then you got teams like Arizona who have played what I believe they call 13 personnel, which is they'll field three tight ends. And one of them is, yeah, he's a tight end, but he's really just blocking. For us, it's Tip Ryman. And then we'll have both Elijah Higgins and Trey McBride out who can block, but also can run out on routes. There are different versions of it. The Falcons did a little bit of it against us, and then had whatever his name is, that guy who dropped the pass. There was that lineman. He's got the famous brother Matthews, I believe it was. I think that's right. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He dropped it, so it didn't really matter. They got the points. They got the win. So there are different teams that do different things in this line. I don't know that there's a cure-all. I know that in the games where you had Quinnen Williams, we didn't talk about this as much. So if you're talking about Dallas's defense before Quinnen Williams was brought in, I'm thinking they kind of match up with that anyway.
Yeah.
But we'll see if he'll probably just come back next season. There's not much point bringing him back now.
Yeah.
But we'll see what they decide to do. Yeah, I don't think there's like an instant fix. there's certainly a different way to build, but that you're going to have to find an X's and O's guy to really answer that question. Is it, should you move more to blitzes, like some exotic blitz packages to kind of counter this? Or is it going to be just a different build? Who knows? So we'll see in the offseason what they decide to do. I think it's too late in the season to really change things now.
Yeah.
So,
and as you pointed out at the beginning, it's like, what are we changing and building for at this point, right? There's there's nothing to be won. There's only things to be lost in many ways. Yeah, and I think it's very frustrating as a Cowboys fan. Like, there's the offensive side of this where it's like, why did we get shut out in the second half? Like, what functionally really happened there in the third, where it was like, man, we can't do anything. And there's a frustration on that as well. But we've also been really hurt this season by running quarterbacks. And okay, well, so it's not like our defense just has one layered problem. It's like we have problems at every layer still, right? Our secondary has clearly had many struggles. The linebacker core, we don't have a spy situation where we can functionally work. And then at the line, we can't get pressure on the quarterback. So, I don't want to be too critical of different coaches and all that, but it's really hard. Eberflus is not making it easy to like him. That's for sure. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Kind of going down the road. Herbert played a good game. I don't want to take anything away from the way the Chargers played in that game. They were able to get a running game going, which has not been the easiest thing against the Cowboys. Amari and Hampton, we talked about all the young running backs coming in the beginning of the season, and I liked him because I think of the group that we were talking about, he was the biggest or the next to biggest back, and I just like bigger running backs. He looked great. He had some great. He had 85 yards on 16 carries, and the longest was 18 yards. It's kind of a workhorse type of day. Really, really respect all of that kind of, and the way that Herbert passes, he spreads the ball around.
Yeah.
You don't see him with 13 passes to one dude. With that being said, George Pickens also had a good day. After just fans are crazy, and I know I am too from time to time, but it's like, oh, George Pickens didn't have a 100-yard game for 2 games or something. It's like, well, he's terrible. It's just what happened. Like you can be the hero 1 minute, and on the other end of that, the next. But it was good to see him come back and have another good game. And I said going into this, I'll be happy if we survive this game without any injuries, because again, this is a very physical, hard-hitting kind of team, which I really respect when it's not being played against me. So we got banged up in this one for sure, but I don't think I'm not sure that we have any lasting injury that was a part of this game. So I'll kind of take it. Yeah. Was there anything else you kind of walked away from this with, like noticing on either the Chargers side or the Cowboys side, either one?
Nothing in particular that was like that you hadn't already kind of touched on. You were talking about George Pickens and Amari Hampton, and we talked about Amari Hampton coming into the season, and he was one of the guys I was excited for. Sadly, got hurt a lot. I do think for the Chargers, if he can stay healthy, they've got their running back of the future. As much, I would give some respect to Najee Harris and Vidal, but I think he's got the higher upside, again, if he can stay healthy, which is a big thing for lots of players. So, yeah, we'll see. On the other side of this, the George Pickens stuff, being on pace for, he may be 1,600 yards if they heavily use him in these next 2. And I don't mean Puka Nacua kind of heavily use him. I just mean like, just, give him 100 yards for the next 2 games. He may have 1,500 or 1,600 yards and 10, 11, 12 touchdowns. So he's really enjoying being in Dallas. I'd almost wonder going into the offseason if he'd take a discount to just get that many more. I can't get those words out. Probably not. But regardless, probably. Jerry does like to sign his guys who play well for him. So we'll see how they, manage the whole cap situation there. But yeah, that'll be an interesting story going into the offseason. But yeah, no, those were the main things that I saw. I'm glad there weren't like any big injuries, and it was the NFL version of bumps and bruises, it would seem, which is way worse than my bumps and bruises, of course. But I was glad to see that. But yeah, we'll see how they fare for the rest of the season. Hopefully the team still plays hard and just wants to prove that, oh yeah, we're out of the playoffs, but we're coming back next year kind of thing. I feel like that's how you're supposed to close out a season, particularly if you're not a team like the Cardinals. We're probably going to have a lot of different stuff next year. It's like you'll have some different stuff. But yeah, you've got 2 very winnable games coming up next week against Washington. So we'll see what happens there. But that will be fun to get into a bit later this week. So thanks everyone for joining us. We enjoy getting into these games a little less this year than we had hoped coming into the season, but it was still fun to do these, and it will be fun for the next few weeks as well. So we hope you'll join us again. So if you wouldn't mind giving us a like and a subscribe, let us know down in the comments what you thought of the game. Anything, and even if you're a Chargers fan and you want to tell us how silly we are for being Cowboys followers and or fans, just let us know down there. So other than that, it's Christmas week. I hope you have a great Christmas. Spend some time with the family if you got them around, and then or just enjoy some time off if you can do that. Either way, stay warm, and I hope you have a fantastic day.